here. What do you give on it? 25, 50, 75, $100,000. You are listening to the Auction is Action with You in It podcast presented by Call to Auction, where our favorite four-letter word is S-O-L-D. Sold. All right. Well, hey there, everyone. Bobby D here, your host of the Auction is Action with You in It podcast. And I am super excited today because we are going to be talking about event planning and the playbook that nobody handed you when you started planning your event. And I've got a very special guest, a great friend, and also my co-founder of the Gala Toolbox, the one and the only Beth Sandefur of Beth Sandefur Events. Beth, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm your first guest, right? I get that distinction as well.
That's absolutely right. And we are talking about our little baby that we put together here for nonprofits. And I'm excited to have this conversation and share with the world all of this wonderful knowledge that you and I have combined over, I don't know, what, 40, 60, 80, I don't
know. Sure. Well, 80. Yeah. Millennium. Yeah.
Right on. Well, Beth, why don't you give me a little bit of background about yourself? Because, some of our listeners might not know who you are.
Sure. So I'm Beth. I'm based in Northern California. I have clients all over the country. I am an event planner that specializes in fundraising events with nonprofits, typically ones that have a pretty large auction component because I'm a little bit of an auction nerd. But I come from a nonprofit background. Like I moved to California to work in the development department of a nonprofit. I worked in theaters before that, doing both development and marketing, and got to a point where I felt like if all I did all year long was the gala, I would be so happy. So 14 years ago, as of June 1st, I launched my own company, and now that's what I do. 40-ish times a year, I help different nonprofits plan their big fundraising galas.
Awesome. I love that. And you and I have known each other now, I don't know, 5, 7, 10 years. And just to see how the evolution of events has been. I mean, I know we were pre-COVID, had some really good ideas. And during the pandemic, like you and your teams like really just went out there and made some amazing things happen and was a huge inspiration to me. So this really shows how you're constantly, pushing the envelope of what events are. And then now here we are post 6 years after something like that. I know it's crazy to think like
weird,
that.
Right? Yeah.
It's so weird.
It's like a lifetime ago.
It was a lifetime ago. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's get going. We're going to be talking about the fundraising event playbook that nobody hands you. So Beth, why do so many nonprofits simply repeat the same event year after year after year?
I think because it's easy. It's easier to just repeat the same steps that people have been doing. Maybe you're new in the position and you've got the documents that someone left you from last year and you don't know what you're doing. So it's like, well, I'll just do that. I think nobody likes change. So I think it's just easier to just keep repeating it.
That's right. It's I always call it the 6 words of death. This is the way we've always done it. And I want to challenge our friends that are listening here to think about their events in a different way. And there are some tools and a toolbox that we're going to be talking about a little bit later that can help you to make your event better, but then also have like you some stuff put together in case you are passing on that gala to somebody else to just make it easy.
Yeah. And I'll say before we even like fully launch into all this, like I would never advocate for someone to like completely build your gala from the ground up, like from scratch, like every year, like complete reinvention. But like, are there 3 things that you could be doing differently? Like what are those little baby steps so that you're always trying to find a way to like improve or be different or make it better or whatever. But like, don't think that it's like burn it all down, start all over every year. Cause that's also crazy,
Yeah. We're all about creating a drama less, stress less environment, as you are planning this, because galas, planning galas are stressful and there's a lot of drama that comes with that. And you're right. We don't need to, like you say, burn it down and then build it all back up. Sometimes it's just improving what you have and kind of keep evolving is really what we're going to be talking about today.
Exactly.
Okay. So what's the difference between planning an event and designing an event?
That's a great question. When I think about planning an event, I immediately just go to all of the logistics. Are my vendors lined up? Did my invitation go out on time? Like, is the timeline been put together? Like, all of that stuff. And when I think about designing an event, design to me is thinking about the guest experience from start to finish and the emotional arc that you want to lead people on that starts from when your save the date goes out, all the way through to the end of the evening. Like, what is that emotional like arc? What is the story? Like, where are we trying to get people to go with us? Like, what is our end destination together as a group of people that are trying to raise money to fund a mission? Like, how do we get there? That to me is design.
Right. And I always like to, talk with my clients about we're designing a feeling is what it
Yes.
is. And what is that feeling that we want to help to instill or inspire
Yeah.
within the guests and the donors that are there. So, yeah, planning, like say logistics, we got, the check-in software, you got the flowers and the decor and the PowerPoints and the
Yeah.
auction items and all of those kind of things. Whereas, designing this event is really, like you say, building that story arc, building that crescendo, building that denouement, whatever it might be, to
Yeah.
to create that feeling that your donors are going to take with them into the night. I mean, that's designing an experience.
Yeah, I love when you said designing a feeling. I think that's a really great, like, I mean, that's it. Exactly. It's like, what feeling are we trying to create?
Absolutely. And event design really can do so many things to help design what that feeling it is. The way the room looks, the lights, the sound, the smells, the tastes, the food,
Mhm.
and that experience that happens during the program. I mean, nobody likes the boring speeches, right? I mean, the boring speeches are done. We get rid of it. Like I killed a keynote today. It was so amazing. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna have this keynote." I'm like,
I mean,
"But
nobody ever
why?"
said, I wish we had one more speaker. No one ever said that.
So right, so right. So now, Beth, if you inherited a fundraising event tomorrow, what would be the first thing that you would look at? What would be the first thing that you would evaluate?
I mean, the first like big general thing I look at is ROI for the total event. Like,
Okay.
how much did you make? How much did you spend to make it? I think it's a best practice. It's pretty out there. I think there's some national organizations that have it actually baked into their standard operating procedures that you should not be spending more than 25 cents on the dollar for
Okay.
a fundraiser. So, and there are a lot of fundraisers out there that are spending like 60 cents, 75 cents.
Yeek.
And like, well, I mean, and events have a reputation, for like, oh, they're so expensive, they're a lot, like they're not worth it. And I think that when they're not being planned well and you are spending 60, 70 cents on the dollar, like, yeah, that's bad event math to me. So I would want to look at like overall, like what is the ROI? And then, and I mentioned I'm kind of an auction nerd. Like if you're doing an auction, and a paddle raise, like I want to then immediately start drilling down into like, well, what are those ROIs? And are we getting things that are in the wrong category, or is it too many or too much or whatever? Like I want to start really understanding where the revenue is coming from. And again, like what we're spending to get us there.
Yeah, and I always like to look at dollars per minute as well too. Like we were just talking about
Yes.
the boring speeches. Now, are they helping you raise any more money? Probably not. But your auction and your paddle raise definitely are. And if you're looking to raise $100,000 and you've got 50 minutes to do it, I mean that's what, $2,000 a minute. And if your boring speech is 6 minutes, 10
Yep.
minutes, 12 minutes, how much did that cost
Yep.
you in
Yep.
regards of fundraising?
That's one of my favorite metrics. I introduced it to a client last year and it like absolutely rocked the world. And they actually added it to the bottom of like our budget spreadsheet where it would constantly be sort of be tracking and like, okay, this is how much we need to make, on event night. So this is our value per minute. And it was great because it kept everybody kind of in check about
Yeah.
is this really important or not, what we're trying to add in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's a tool in the toolbox that talks
That's a
about
tool.
budgeting. So
There is.
just saying, that's out there. And as we keep talking about the Gala toolbox, there's going to be so many tools that we're going to be bringing out,
Yeah.
presenting here. But what's great is at the end of the episode, we've got a freebie for you. We've got a blueprint. So stay tuned. All right. So we're evolving the conversation. We're evolving the event. What are the biggest signs that the gala has stopped evolving? What are some of those kind of telltale marks that are there?
I mean, I think it's all the stagnation stuff of where you're seeing maybe it's just the same auction items every year. They never really change. Like you're not seeing any growth in your ticket sales or your sponsorships. I think also it starts to get hard to recruit committee members and volunteers. Like those to me are all signs that a gala has stopped evolving and people have gotten bored with it.
Yeah, and it's that boredom is what we're fighting, because we're fighting against so much, other things that are trying to capture attention these days, and especially those valuable nights that the gala's on, Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights, that people don't want to go to an event to be bored. So let's fix that for them. Let's keep
And
that.
I think that something that COVID specifically changed is that I think it's easier for people to blow off plans now, right? Like we all got very happy at home in the lockdown days. And then I think when things opened up, there was an immediate like, oh my God, people, again. But I think there was definitely like a section of people that were like, actually, no, I kind of like being home. And so maybe
Right.
they've drawn down and there are fewer organizations that they want to support. There's fewer plans outside the house that they want to make. So there's you like it feels easier to like blow stuff off or cancel things like, oh, it's not like I'll write a check, but I don't need to go to that or
Right.
whatever. Like, I think that has been a real shift that I've seen in the post COVID
And
gala
and
experience.
and if a couple decides to go to a gala, I mean, they are making a big decision of
Yeah.
like they're going from stretchy pants to black tie.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
that's a big decision.
And you may be thinking, like, I mean, it's the outfit to get them. It's what, their ticket and whatever they're contributing when they're there, but like the outfit, the Uber, the babysitter, like all the things that go into it. And, I think it's a little harder now sometimes to, like, you want to make sure that you're the thing that's most interesting and attractive to get somebody, out of their stretchy pants for an evening.
Yeah, yeah, like literally pull them out of that. So what are some things, what are parts of a traditional gala that deserve to be challenged? Like, hey, I think we can do that better.
I mean, it's funny. You kind of already mentioned it a little bit. We said about the number of speakers that are on the stage. I think that bigger is not always better, and I think that applies to like I would rather see a gala that has like a tight 90-minute program, like you're in, you're out, you're done, rather than performances and honorees and keynotes and like all those sorts of things. I think the same applies to an auction. I think that just adding more auction items for the sake of having a bigger auction is not the best strategy to like get you to more revenue. I think your auctions should be more curated and you're really looking at, how your audience is responding. But like it's like people want to just throw everything at it's our one night and we have to do it and like let's just do all these things. And it's like, but is it really like getting us where we want to go? And I think that also there's a metric that's in people's head about a gala is successful. Like the more people we can get there, our gala needs to be bigger in terms of attendance. And
Hmm.
I have said for years, like, I don't think you need to have the most people in the room. I think you need to have the right people in the room. And the right people are the ones that are going to be actively engaging by bidding in your auctions, by making gifts in the funding, like buying your raffle ticket, like all those things. They need to be actively engaged. I don't care about 150 people in the back that are just there to party and aren't like supporting what we're doing as an organization.
Right. And they're just gonna, those additional people, they're seat fillers, they're food eaters, they're drink drinkers,
Yep.
they're, sometimes causing a ruckus in the back, and they're a
Yep.
distraction to those that really want to be there and that are connected to the cause.
Yep.
So you're right. More people does not necessarily mean more fundraising. More of the
Mhm.
right people, I think, is what we're looking for.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think that there are ways I know that's gonna sound scary to some people that think about like intentionally doing, a smaller event or whatever. I think there are ways that you can still include people. Are you running an online auction where people can bid in your auction even if they're not there? And does that online auction page also have a donation, button? Like, is there a giving campaign that you can run in tandem? Do you take your appeal video and put it into an email campaign that goes out after the gala? Like, I think you can still engage people, related to the gala night without having to have them be in the room to be there, but
Right.
again, you really want to be targeting the people that are really going to support your mission and honor the time, right? Someone's gotten out of their stretchy pants, they come to the event, like they don't want to sit through 4 hours of a bunch of fluff, in the
Womp, womp,
program and like
womp.
big
Yeah.
long, yeah, exactly, so just honor the time that they are spending with you and the commitment that they've made to be there that night.
All right. So, real world information. Can you share an example, maybe, of an organization that transformed its event and saw dramatically different results?
Well, I mean, we've touched on it a little bit already, and I've got like multiple events that have done this that have. I mean, the format of the gala was the same. It's not transformed in that way, but they really started looking at who was attending, how are they engaging, and they trimmed out their guest list and they made it smaller and it became a smaller, more intimate event. And I've seen that in a gala that was 1,100 people go to 600 people. I've seen a gala that was like 450 go to 350. And it's like fewer people in the room, but the people that are there are really engaged. And like in one case, I worked with the Oregon Food Bank years and years ago on this, and they cut their guest list down because we did a bunch of data analysis and saw that, like, okay, there's all these people that are coming as corporate sponsored guests. They're not engaging in anything when they're there. They're just in the rowdy in the back and they eat. We cut those people out of the guest list. We sort of approached the sponsors differently and said, if you're not going to fill a table, would you rather have this money be positioned as a lead gift in the paddle raise? So you still get the promotion, your name's still out there, all that stuff. And we ended up, like, at the end of the day, their gross revenue was slightly down because they did have fewer people, but all of the expenses were down because they didn't have all of those rentals and the catering bill for all those folks. And their net revenue went up. Like, by cutting the people out that weren't engaging, like, they ended up increasing their net revenue, and that became kind of their new, model. And I've seen that happen like over and over and over again at different organizations.
Yeah, and especially over the last year, that's something that we've seen as well too. Is that audiences are shrinking, but their fundraising is growing
Yeah.
because of many of those different factors. And again, it's having the right people in the room with the right motivation to take action is really what that's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest revenue leaks that you're seeing at fundraising events? Like you're just seeing dollars walk out the door.
I think it comes back to bad planning and not having a strategy. I see people definitely say, like, oh, well, we want to raise this much money at the event, but there's no thought behind where that's coming from. Like, well, how many sponsors do we need to get that? How many paddle raise gifts that we need at each level? Like, that kind of stuff. People aren't intentionally engaging their major donors. They're just trusting that they're going to be there. They're going to make those big gifts. Not having a board member / committee member dedicated to securing lead gifts to the paddle raise, like, before you get there. They're just not. It's just bad planning and just bad strategy. I think that people think of the gala and, like, well, the end result and everything that happens on that night, but everything that happens on that night takes like 6, 7, 8, 9 months of planning, like, to get there. Like, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum on that night. People are so inspired. Like, you have to have primed the pump to get there. And I think people just don't. They just don't think about it in that way.
Yeah, yeah. So if a nonprofit wanted to increase their event by 25% or more, where should they start? Like, what are they going to look at?
I think you always start by looking at your existing results. I'm a big data person. I love to do analysis on stuff. I think you start with your existing results and see, like, where is your revenue really coming from? Where are you already strong? But, like, don't just start adding stuff to add. Like, do your fundamentals better. If sponsorship is 40% of your revenue, like, that might also be where your biggest growth opportunity lies because you're already doing that well. If your paddle raise is underperformed compared to the attendance, like, then focus on that. If your board isn't helping to fill tables and sell tickets, that's an opportunity. If your donor retention is weak, like, start there. But I think you really need to start by looking at where you are and identifying, like, where your strengths and weaknesses are from there, and then start building out.
Yeah, and I'll be working with groups, and we'll be looking at a lot, especially those paddle raise metrics. What is your percentage of people in the room that have given? What is the average dollar per gift? That's there, and looking at these different metrics that are there to, okay, how can we turn the volume up a little bit on this? But like you said, sponsorships is such a open opportunity to raise significantly more money, and if someone's looking to raise an add a 25% to their event, and let's say they're raising 100,000 in sponsorships, to get another 25,000. I mean, you're talking to five different $5,000 sponsors, or one, title sponsor at 25,000, and then boom, there you go. You got 25% right there.
And I think too, specifically with sponsorships, I think you need to back it up and look at it for the year. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are making their funding decisions in Q4, right,
Hmm.
for the next year. And if you've got maybe a summer or fall gala, you're waiting until January to even make the ask. And like companies have already made their budget, their decision about how they're spending their marketing. And then I've also seen company or organizations do really well with thinking about event sponsorship in terms of like not just the gala, but like here are all the events that we do in a year, and really like
Ah.
constructing sponsorship packages, or like we want you to be a Wells Fargo, a partner with us like all year long, and here are all the things that we do. And like so that you're just always talking to people, and it's not like, oh well, it's February, it's time to make asks for our September event, and then the timing's weird, and then it like goes away like once you've got there. But like how are you engaging those sponsors like year round? I think that that's another, I don't know, it's a revenue week or a miss or whatever, is thinking about your gala as one night, when it should really be like, how are you cultivating all of these, donor sponsors, bidders, like all year round, so that they
Hmm.
are like part of your family.
Super important. So now, is there a tool in the Gala toolbox that could help groups with their sponsorships?
Of course. I mean, our blueprint has a lot of great, I think it's one of the first things we go over the blueprint is identifying like what are all the different possible revenue streams? Like, how's that coming from? We've got like a do the math worksheet where we're literally like you reverse engineer your goals, like figure out where they're coming from so that your math is sound when you're putting your budget together to start going out and, procuring sponsorships and selling tickets and doing all the things.
Right on. And then I think we've also got a sponsorship tracker in there, kind of almost a
We do.
little
Yeah.
bit of a sponsor CRM that's there to help
Yeah.
track, where those dollars can come from, who's going to give what, who's given, and then what are those potential opportunities
Yeah.
for future sponsors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff in that. There's a lot of
So,
stuff in the toolbox.
so much. I mean, even here in the past 15
Like
minutes, I
we
think we've
forget
already given so much value. So,
it.
so we're gonna keep moving on here. So, let's see here. I've got a whole list of questions, like 1,000 questions here. Paddle race. So, paddle race. What role is the paddle race playing in today's fundraising events?
I think it's the most important thing. I think that there's always going to be two kinds of people that attend an event. There are people that want stuff for their money. Like you're always going to have auction bidders. Those people exist. I
Hmm.
think the gap between the people that want stuff and the people that just want to give for the sake of giving is getting wider. But like I think the paddle raise should be your biggest revenue generator. It should be where the bulk of your funds are coming from. So to me, I think it's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Now, are you seeing some events that are just only doing paddle races?
I have seen that. Yeah, I think it's still the minority for where I am on the on the West Coast. But that's one of the shifts. One of the shifts coming out of COVID is that live auctions have gotten smaller. Like the
Hmm.
average live auction, I'm in near San Francisco. Our average live auction pre-COVID was like 16 items, and now it's like 8.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they're just smaller. But I mean, yeah, it's like it's been a real change. And I think and the paddle raises are just they're getting bigger. Like in terms of
Mhm.
percentage, you're really seeing like this and the paddle raises. I think it's so important.
Oh my gosh, so important. When you start to look at the fundraising opportunity that's there, dollars raised is one thing, but guest engagement is a whole nother thing, because a lot of times at events, people will come in and they'll raise their paddle at 1,000, they'll raise their paddle at 500, whatever it might be. That's not the only gift that they're going to give you or could give you the entire year. That becomes like a test donation to see, hey, do they give me the warm and fuzzies? And if they do, then I'm going to come back. I'm going to maybe become a monthly donor, maybe become a corporate sponsor, maybe become a bigger major donor throughout the year. And a lot of times that conversation starts right there at that paddle raise.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So looking at the paddle raise as a bigger opportunity than just fundraising, it's relationship finding is really a big part about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I
now, oh, so go.
I was just going to say, I think one of the keys to it is that, or something I see a lot is that people spend a lot of time talking about their auction items and what their auction items are going to be and how we position them and can we double this and what is the lot order and like all, that sort of stuff. And they wait until the week of the gala to start putting together their paddle race plan.
Eek.
And it's like you should, like it should not be an afterthought. Like you should
Right.
give it some more, a couple months, whatever. Like they'll think
Mhm.
about the message and maybe there's been a video produced, but when it gets down to really thinking like pre-securing, lead gifts and all that, and like what are the levels going to be and all this, to me, I just see it so often that it comes in at the last minute. And if it's going to be the thing that brings in the most dollars in the night, it should be getting more attention in the planning process than it does.
Yeah, I had a conversation today with a client whose event's not for 6 months, and they were like, "Well, Bobby, what should we be thinking about right now?" I was like, "All right, well, we need a lead gift, so start finding some lead gifts, pre-secured gifts for your paddle raise. But then also, let's start looking for some matching funds opportunities. Maybe there's some incentivized giving opportunities that we can start looking at." And here we are, 6 months out from that, because we know that that's our biggest revenue generator, and we need to be spending as much time, if not more, on strategizing and planning for that as we are in our live auction.
Well, and how many times have you had the conversation like, okay, what's our top level of our paddle raise going to be? And they look at you and they're like, I don't know, what do you think? And it's like, no, what do you think? Like, what money is in the room? Like, who have you talked to? Like, your top level should be like wherever you got a gift pre-secured.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, you just got to think about it earlier.
Yeah, and if that top level is appropriate, because sometimes they're like, oh yeah, we've got one donor that's going to come in at 25,000. Let's just
Mhm.
start there, and then it's like, okay, well, do you have a 10? Do you have a
Right.
five? And they may be like, well, no, our next gift that we've got is a 2,500. It's like, okay, well, maybe 25,000 might be too high. Maybe let's
Right.
ratchet that down, start at 10,000.
Maybe we think about how that 25 is a match,
There
for
you
some
go.
other level,
There
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go. Love
It's so
that.
important. Yeah.
So let's move to a bit more logistical
Sure.
conversation here. So what systems and or templates separate high performing events from just average ones?
I like a shareable template and dashboards that are actually used. So if you've got a timeline, my timeline documents have, it's the task and the due date and the who's responsible, and then like a status. Is it not started? Is it in progress? Is it completed? Whatever. So that anybody at any time needs to have hands on it, can look at it and be like, okay, this is sort of where, things are. Like, so creating all those kind of dashboards and task lists and things, the sponsorship tracker, like, your auction procurement tracker, like all of those things that anybody can access and that are actually used. I think it's important to have meetings that have agendas and structure. Like, are we hitting all the different things? Are we recapping past auction, like prior action items and what's coming up in the next week? I also think as you start working with people, like job descriptions and well-defined goals, I like to give my auction committees a job description and a goal. We need you to come up with X number of auction items that fit into these categories, and value should range between, here and here, so that they understand like what they're doing. And then I've had a few organizations that put together like a board and committee playbook that sort of gives them everything. Like a board member, like, here's kind of a one sheet on what the event is, like what are all the selling point, what we're trying to do, like how we need you to help. Here's some template emails that you can use when you're writing to your friends, trying to get them to be a sponsor or whatever, like all, like make it super easy for someone to then go fundraise on your behalf.
Now, I wish there was a toolbox out there that would have some things like this
I know.
in it. Oh wait, there
I
is.
know.
This exists.
So,
All right.
yeah.
This is not one big infomercial, I promise, friends. This is just, but this is a little bit of exposure, for a toolbox that's out there that has a lot of these things in this. And let's talk about that real quick, Beth. Like, where did this gala toolbox idea come from? Like, it just didn't appear. It started from a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it started from a conversation that, you and I had over dinner one night. You and your lovely wife were out in Napa, and we all got together and had dinner, and we got to talking about things. And you and I had been having like ideating on it sort of individually, and our things came together. I know for me, a lot of it comes from Like, I remember when I was a baby development person at an organization who got handed the gala, and from someone's doc, like someone left, I was covering the role, and it was like, well, figure it out. And I had to figure it out with the, mess of documents and I had left, and I wasn't sure what everything was. And like, I'd planned some events before, but like never on this scale. And it was like, and scared and didn't know what to do and didn't have anyone to ask and didn't have development funds. And was like, oh my God, what? And then as I've grown more in my career and I'm working with clients all the time, like I keep getting asked the same questions over and over again. Like, do you have a spreadsheet for that? Is there an example you can show? Like, can we borrow this, that, and the other? And I think when you and I got together, I think you also get asked for a lot of the
All the
same.
time.
Like, do
Yeah.
you have an example of that or whatever? And when we started coming together and putting together our list of all these documents that you and I both have that we use all the time, that clients ask for us all the time, it was like, well, there it is. Like, these are the tools. We just need to like package it up and put it out there, and in a way that whether you are also a baby development person that isn't sure what they're doing, or maybe you're a little bit more seasoned, but you have the gala and the annual fund, like, and the volunteer program and the educate, like whatever else it is, because nonprofits like to give us all three jobs, or you're running some super sophisticated event. I think at every level, there's ways to just like check your process and like, am I doing this in the most efficient way? And I think there's also just really value in seeing how other people do things if you only ever see your event. So even between you and I look at some of your forums and I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's from that, is
Yeah.
I think where it comes from, why we
Yeah.
started.
And having a space for all of this information to live, was
Mhm.
something that I really had craved to get out there. And now I use the Gala toolbox with all of my clients that are out there to know that at least I'm giving them everything. Like, look, this is
Yes.
everything that you and I know about
Uh,
events and how to plan events. And this is literally the toolbox that you can use to plan and design and execute as great of a gala as you could ever have.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because I know I've certainly had conversations with a client that maybe I've worked with for 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden someone brings something to a meeting, and I'm like, oh, we never talked about that. Like, oh, I didn't realize we never had that conversation, because
Right.
I've had that conversation over here like 50 times. I didn't know we ever did. So it is nice to have like, here's the one like sort. Here's all the stuff. Like, have
Mhm.
it, you use it, look at it, go through it, whatever. It's all here, for you to access.
Yeah, and not just that, like let's keep it in our head kind of thing. It lives and it breathes, on
Yeah.
your computer. It's a shareable docs, and it's a way for teams to work together as well too, to hold each other accountable and to know who's doing what when and what's to do, and do
Yeah.
the math, and let's track, and find these live auction items. What are some holes we need to plug? Different things like that. So if you were to maybe pull open the toolbox and
Sure.
and pull one tool out, like what do you think the most valuable resource is that every nonprofit should use inside of the toolbox?
It's hard for me to answer, because I will say, I know we don't want this to be an infomercial, but like, we have what's out now, and I think we have like 14 other modules that are going to be released in the future. So there
Hmm.
really is a lot of content. I think of what is in there now. I really love the blueprint, and specifically in the blueprint, there's an 11-month timeline. And that was definitely a thing. Like, you had a timeline, I had a timeline, we put them together, and there was stuff in your timeline that I was like, oh, I never would have thought to putting that in the timeline. And that's again where I say, at whatever level like you are performing or planning, or no matter how like new or seasoned you are, I think just going through that timeline can either, it can affirm that like, yes, I'm on the right track, I know what I'm doing. It can identify places where it's like, oh, I should maybe think about this a little bit differently. And it can also reveal things that are like, oh, I never thought about that
Yeah.
item, and then some of it for me, it was like actually planning in the timeline all of the gratitude moments. Like, how are you following up with certain donors? Like, did you plan a rest day for yourself? Like all these little things that, like, especially as you get towards the end of the event, you're like, whatever, I'm just glad it's over. But having it on a page in a list is like, oh no, that needs to be done. And that's
Yeah.
important. And like, I think that timeline is gold.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And not giving yourself too much to do early on is very spread out. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, these are the things you need to be thinking about 11 months, 10 months, 9 months down the road.
Yeah.
But then these are the things you need to be thinking about 3 months, 2 months, and then week of event as well, too. Some things that you need to be thinking about. And it spreads it out, and then it gives you a checklist
Mhm.
so that you can check all the boxes off and be like, okay, I've hit everything and I've thought of everything and we've got everything done. And I know that that feeling once you make that final check on that final checkbox, like how good that feels. Be like, okay, we've done this, we've prepped, and we've created and designed something that is going to be unlike anybody's ever seen before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one gala trend that needs to disappear.
I mean, I think swag bags need to go away.
Okay, but everybody loves a swag bag.
I mean, everybody likes getting a bag. I think people don't, and then there's a lot of junk in the bag that like gets left at venues or thrown away or whatever. I prefer a gifting suite over a swag bag. And if you're not familiar with a gifting suite, it's like you get all the stuff donated, people get to come in and like they get their bag, right? And then they can go around and like they're just taking the things that are important to them. So
Oh, so it's
that
almost kind
is
of like
what I
a
prefer.
swag buffet.
Yeah, yeah, and that way you're getting a bag, but it's I mean, for example, like I'm diabetic, like I don't necessarily want. I mean, I want the chocolate that you put in the bag, but like maybe that's not a good thing for me to have. But like I would have the popcorn or the whatever. Like you can go and kind of really like cherry pick the items that you want, or just have like one good gift that you're giving to everybody. But like the big bag that's filled with a bunch of stuff and a lot of tissue paper and a lot of paper and half of it is going to get thrown away. Like I don't love that.
Yeah, nobody ever reads that stuff anyways. But with this swag buffet, you're still giving that exposure for all of your
Yes.
sponsors, and it gives them a chance to be able to, provide some things that people may or may not like. But at least it's there, and people get to
Yeah.
see everything
Yeah.
versus getting home and dumping out the bag and then being like, okay, where's the good stuff, kind
And
of thing.
especially if you're doing like an after party at your event, like that's a good place to have the swag, the gifting suite set up, and like maybe you also have like a take home, like a candy bar, or there's like bottles of water, whatever. So it's like as you're in your Uber on your ride home, you're getting your last snack or whatever it is. But I think after parties are a good place to put that kind of thing. But yeah, that's my hot take on
Nice.
trends that should go away.
So, what's one gala trend that is here to stay? That they're like, okay, we're doing this all the time.
Being smaller and more intentional about your
Oh,
gala,
okay.
not bigger is better, but small and intentional. I think that.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like the purposefulness of the gala, and it's like, look, this is checking a lot of boxes, and yes, we're going to raise as much money as we can, but is it about cultivating those relationships that are in the room? Is it cultivating those sponsorship relationships? Is it identifying new relationships? Is it celebrating a milestone? Is it a opportunity to fund a new program?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, but by being, like you say, very specific and intentional about designing the gala is so important.
And it can still be a great party. I'm not saying
Yeah.
like make it small and make it boring, but like, have the people that are going to engage be there, like be tight about your program, and then let your DJ play for an hour and a half and have your good, it's like, it's just that is everything you're doing like working towards the guest experience and the feeling that you're trying to create and
Yeah.
ultimately the mission that you're trying to fund.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, 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 good. Oh my gosh, like we could do this for hours and hours and hours. But that's what's great about the Gala Toolbox is that you and I literally sat down for hours and hours and
Hours
hours
and hours.
and
Yeah.
compiled so much stuff together
Yeah.
and made this for nonprofit professionals just like those friends that are listening and watching with us today. Like
Yeah.
we want you to succeed any way that you can, and if we can provide some tools for that to help you succeed, then that helps us to fulfill our mission to help nonprofits have better galas.
Yep. For
Yep.
sure.
Okay, so biggest event planning myth.
That it's glamorous and fun all the time.
Oh, you plan events. That must just be amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I mean, listen, I love my job. Like, I know there are people that have a lot like harder jobs out in the world. I'm not trying to say that, but I think that everyone focuses on the centerpieces and the catering and like, all the fun and whatever. And like the times that I have stood over a trash can, like eating a meal because there aren't any plates, anymore, or, the auction that was outside and I'm standing there with a clipboard and a pen in hand and my legs are getting eaten alive by bugs because I'm standing on a lawn and I can't like, I'm having to wait in between every auction lot to like scratch, sort of desperate. Like, it's just not, I love my job and it is not the like glamorous existence that everyone thinks that it is. That's all.
So what's one thing in your your actual toolkit like you bring to events? Like what's one thing that that's super necessary that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad that I actually had this physical thing."
I mean, there's a handful of things that have definitely come in clutch. Um, I keep a box of random earring backs because sometimes you lose the back of an earring and like, what are you going to do? You need to put that in there. I have given out a lot of Band-Aids, Tylenol, Advil, blister Band-Aids. I always have a hotspot on me because I never know what's going on. I did an event a couple of weeks ago where the venue Wi-Fi went down. The organization had brought in Starlink. It went down, and I was like, "Well, I'm glad I have my hotspot so I can run registration." Zip ties I find to be like eminently useful. Gaff tape.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the things I think.
So I've had 3 events this year where I had people like run up to me and be like, "Bobby, so I'm having a wardrobe malfunction. Do you have a safety pin?"
Yeah, yeah.
So I love being the hero and going into my backpack of goodies and being like, "Here, do you want black or do you want silver? Which one?"
I also I found on Amazon, it's like a big, like it's a ridiculously large quarter. And I had an auctioneer come to me the other day because we were doing a heads or tails game, which is not my favorite game, but some organizations like it and whatever. And the auctioneer came to me, he was like, "Do you have a quarter?" And I was like, "Oh, do I?" Like, do I have one in my little, I have a little pouch that has all my stuff crammed into it. And I was like, "Here you go. Here's a gigantic quarter." Like anything I've ever found myself without or needing at an event eventually makes its way into my little like bag of goodies that I carry around with me.
We're gonna have to do another podcast and just talk about those goodies that people can have. And I think this would be really good content for us to put out there. It's like, what's in your gala bag, and share some of the secrets because we were at Elevate, the conference. Few months ago, and we literally made a gala toolbox and filled it with all of these gala necessities. And then the person that won it was like, "Yeah, I love this because this has everything in it."
Well, and I stole from you. You had call to auction branded Post-it notes just like at our like sponsor booth, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take those." And they're in my toolkit. Like your Post-it notes have made their way around the world. Like I use them for everything. I'm like, every time I pull one out, I'm like, "Thanks, Bobby."
You're welcome for that. I'm glad I could help. Anyway, that I can. Okay, so most overlooked fundraising opportunity, like what, like people just aren't thinking about this.
I think I touched on it earlier a little bit. I think the paddle raise, like I think in that a lot of people do it, but a lot of people leave the planning until the last, week or two. So I think the really looking at that 5 months in advance, I think is an overlooked opportunity.
Yeah, and it really surprises me that there's still events out there that are like, "Oh, we don't do a paddle raise." And I'm like,
I know. Yeah.
What? I can't believe that. It's like you're leaving money on the table. And this group I was talking with today, I talked about last year, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just made this just a very simple ask. If you want to make a donation, come find us later, or scan the QR code, or whatever." And some people do that, but it doesn't create that environment of collective generosity where people are going to the QR code or something.
Well, there's nothing like the momentum and positive peer pressure of seeing bid numbers go up, paddles or programs or however you have them, like seeing them go up in the air. There's like nothing that can replace that emotion to me than like looking out at a room and they're just there they are, like in the air. Yeah.
I love being on the stage and looking out and seeing that sea of paddles at the $1,000 level, and we call off 43 paddles or something like that, or even like at the $100 level. then we're doing the paddle sweep or something,
Yeah.
and it's hundreds of paddles that are up in the air, and each one of those paddles is a willing donor that's saying, I'm with you, I believe in this cause, and I want to invest in it at whatever level that it can
Mhm.
be. And for groups that are out there that aren't doing a paddle raise, you're leaving tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, not just at dollars at the event, but dollars following the event, which is so important.
And I'll add on to that. If you are doing an online, like a silent auction at your event, and you're doing all of your bidding online, I had this conversation with an organization today that, like, add a donation button to your online auction, because there might be someone that's attending the event. Maybe they're a program recipient of your organization, or it's a teacher because it's a school or whatever, that maybe they can't give at whatever even the lowest level of your paddle raise is, but they could give $25 or $20 or whatever.
Right.
And like, it can feel shameful to have to go up to someone and say, well, I want to make a donation, but I can only do, $20 or whatever. But
Yeah.
if you've got
Yeah.
that little button on your online auction, and they can give in a way that, like, is still meaning, because that's a level that's still meaningful for them, but and it's in a way, you're just additional opportunity, like, hey, you can give a larger amount too, but like, just making sure that there's a way for everyone to still give, even if they don't feel like they can give at whatever the levels of your paddle raise are. I
That's
think that's
right. And I always say there's got to be an opportunity for everybody to give. There are people like I mean, I'm a realist that there are people that don't want to raise their paddle, period. Like
yeah.
no matter what. They're like, we're not raising our paddle. That's not in our culture of philanthropy that
Right.
that's the way that we give. But at the end of every paddle raise that I do, it's like, we want to recognize those that haven't raised their paddle yet, or that haven't raised their paddle but want to give behind the scenes. We love you for that. And there are opportunities for this. We've got the donate button on the mobile giving software. We've got the QR code. I mean, sometimes there is the little card at the table, something like that, but it's creating an opportunity for everybody to give. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole
But I
point.
like your point though too, also about acknowledging it from the stage, that like we love all the gifts. However it came to us, like, we love them all, we love you all, like, you're doing good work. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's important as well, because people want to feel seen and appreciated, and that does that.
Yeah, that's everything. And then that appreciation, having that live on, beyond the event. And I think that's something like you had touched on earlier, is you got the plan for that post event gratitude process, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, again, like, yes, your gala is one big night, but your gala is one big night that lives for 12 months. Like, it never really goes away. And I think that, people, most organizations are pretty good about getting sort of their standard thank you letters out within a week. Although some people take longer, and that's okay. There's degrees to which that's okay. But
Yep.
like, even something as simple as, a board member, executive director, whoever, just like handwrite, like, you have your form letter that's printed out, and then handwrite thank you. Like, you don't have to write like a custom message to everybody, but even a handwritten thank you, and is there, like, are you following up with people to say, we did a paddle raise to raise money to build a new playground at the school, and like, 8 months later or whatever, like, here's the report, here's the photos of the playground that you built, you know what I mean, like that. Like, how are you thinking of them, throughout the year? There's an organization that I have been a donor to here in the Bay Area, that they send out, they've done it two different ways, kind of, who knows why, but at Thanksgiving and at Valentine's Day, where I've gotten cards that are just like, we're thankful for you, not getting asked for anything, not just like, we're thankful for you. Oh, or at Valentine's Day, that's just like, we're sweet on you, like, you're our sweetheart,
Right.
whatever. That's like, and like, include just like, thank people. You can't thank people too much.
Yeah, and planning for that thank you process is so important. And in the toolbox, there is a gratitude checklist
Yeah.
for those, and again, providing some ideas that maybe people had never really thought about, or even the pure fact that there is a gratitude process that can be built that turns on immediately following the event. I mean, even the night of the event, there's some techniques and some strategies that can be
Yeah.
implemented to say thank you right away, and to start that gratitude process.
And that's what, for me, when I say that, like, no matter what level you're at, why I like that timeline so much that we created is like, because even for me, like, I know all those things are important, but I had never like put them down as like, did we do this? Did we do this? Did we do this?
Yep.
Until I saw your timeline. I was like, oh, like, okay, we
Yeah.
should, like, they should be like, did we check that off? Like, are we
Yep.
doing that? So
Yeah.
I really think there's just so much to be, gleaned from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, best investment a nonprofit can make in its event.
Planning. I mean, you've heard us say it so many times in this conversation, right? Like planning, analysis, strategy. Like, I think we all get so busy, but especially at nonprofits, at just like trying to keep it all on the rails and like doing all the things and never really like stopping. And are you doing a debrief at the end of your event? Are
Yeah.
you, when you start the event next year, are you looking at the notes that you did at the end of last year's event? And like starting from there, are you analyzing your auction, revenue? Like, are you looking at your sponsorship, prospect list? But like all those planning, it can feel like a lot to add, like, oh God, I don't know if I have time for this, but you'll pay yourself back in spades if you just take the time to really plan properly.
Yeah. What do they say? Fail to plan to fail?
Yep,
Something like that.
exactly.
There you
Exactly.
go. There you go. So, if you could hand
Yes.
every nonprofit leader a playbook for creating better fundraising, what would be on the first page?
I think my question would be, why are we doing this event? Why
Why?
does it exist? What role does it play? Like, why are we doing this? I think that the best fundraising events do not start with a theme, they start with a purpose.
Mhm. Mic drop. Boom.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I
Exactly.
love that.
See, yep, that's
Oh
it.
my gosh, so good. Okay, so yes, the why behind the event, and I think that
Right.
becomes the guiding light. That becomes that north star of this is why we're putting ourselves through so much stress and so much drama, and blisters
Exactly.
and blood, sweat, and tears, and all of that to this is why we're doing this.
Yep.
Love that.
Exactly.
Love that. Love that. Okay. So Beth, now we get to our infomercial time. So
Sure.
where can people, find this blueprint?
The wonderful blueprint you've heard us talk so much about is at galatoolbox.com.
And how much does it cost?
So the blueprint itself is free. You
Free?
can download that. I know you can download that. Your first taste is always free. And then if you want to upgrade into our full toolbox, which has, I think I counted, it's like 16 or 17 like supporting documents. There's a do the math worksheet. There's some video training from Bobby. There's auction procurement tracker, sponsorship tracker. There's some bid paddle best practices. There's clerking sheets. There's an auction donation form. There's a bunch of stuff in there. If you purchase the whole toolbox, it's $199. And then, as I mentioned, we've got 14, I think 14 other modules that we will start releasing in future months. So, and they're always going to be built around a topic. So it'll be, on sponsorship or working with your board or auction procurement. So you can, it's a one-time download. It's not a subscription model. It's a one-time download. The stuff is yours. And as we start releasing more content, you'll always be able to purchase just the stuff that is necessary for you.
Yeah, and it's like literally buying different tools. Like sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a saw, sometimes you
Yep.
need a pliers. Sometimes you don't need them all, but you can just kind of pick and choose. But we're going to give you the initial toolbox that's filled with the necessary things to get started,
Yep.
and then you can grow that toolbox, beyond. And
Exactly.
I'm excited for this. This is so
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's in our spreadsheet, it's our basic toolbox. I think it is exactly what you just said. It's kind of these are the ones we feel like are necessary for every event. And then as we start adding more content, you can build out your toolbox in whatever way it works for you. But the blueprint is there now. The basic toolbox is there now. We've had some really good feedback from folks that have already downloaded it. Galatoolbox.com.
Yeah, get in there. So, Beth, I think we're just going to make a little decision here on the fly. Can we give them 25% off? Can we
I
make
think
a coupon code for them?
for sure, for sure. What should our code be for
Our code,
that?
I think since we're on the auction, is action podcast. Let's just make the coupon code action. So someone takes
Okay.
action, they type in the coupon code, they get 25% off just because they were listening here today.
Great. I love it. Done deal.
Okay,
Yes.
look at that. See, this is it. Wonder Twins unite. Make some amazing things happen. Right on. All right. So, any final thoughts for our gala friends that are out there?
I mean, I would say, you're not alone. Like, and you got it. You can do this. I think don't be afraid to break out of your box a little bit. Like, look at your event. Think of 3 things that you can change to make next year's event better. Start getting your systems in place, and you got this.
That's right. You got it. And I just want to say thank you to, Beth. Thank you so much for coming together with me and helping to develop and create this Gala toolbox. Thank you for continuing to pushing this information out there in the world and being the biggest cheerleader for our Gala development planning friends that are out there. So thank you for being on with me today.
Yeah, I was happy to be here, and I'm glad I get that first guest status. You can never
Woohoo!
take it away.
Never forget your first, as they say.
Exactly.
Well, good.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much again. And thank you to our nonprofit friends that are out there listening. Thank you so much for the impact that you are creating in the world and striving to create better events. And the more better events that you create, the more money that you raise, the more money you raise, the more impact that you have. So thank you again for joining us on the Auction is Action with You in It podcast. So thank you again. And we will see you on the next episode. 25 to 35, 45, 85, 65, 75 minutes. Sold. You got it right there. Thanks for listening. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.